Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sisters for Financial Independence. Today, we are diving into one of my favorite topics, budgeting. Before you click out of this video, wait, I promise to show you a budgeting method that will actually work for you. Here's the truth. There is no one way to budget. The reason why you may be failing at budgeting or you hate to budget is because you haven't found the right method that works for your personality, your accountability needs, and your financial goals. Budgeting is a tool, and like any tool, you have to practice how to use it. It's also important to know that your budgeting needs might change as you move towards different life stages. For example, budgeting as a single person is completely different than budgeting as a married couple or as a family with kids. Now, when you do get partnered up, you might also see that you both have different money backgrounds, mindsets, and money personas. One may be a saver, another a spender, or maybe one of you is a spreadsheet person and the other is more of a free spirit. So this is important to note as you find the budgeting method that works for you today as well as in the future. Budgeting is also just a plan for your money. It's about knowing how much money is coming in, how much is going out, and where it's going. A budget will show you where your priorities lie. The reality is that everyone wants your money. There's ads everywhere. There's marketing everywhere. There's one-click buying. There's click in the links in my description. If you don't plan properly, your money will be spent on things you can't even remember. For many of you that budget for the first time, you might realize that you are overspending on certain categories, and that's when you can take action. So if you feel like a budget is a deprivation, change your mindset. Think of these as short-term sacrifices for long-term financial peace. What I will cover in this video are budgeting methods. Now, depending on which one you choose, then you can find the way to do it. You can either use an app or a spreadsheet or just use plain paper and pencil. Many of us also have different technology needs. I wouldn't jump directly to an app or a spreadsheet without understanding the method that will work for you and understanding what your money goals are. The first budgeting method that we will cover is the 50-30-20 budgeting method. Now, this method is perfect for people who don't want to dive too deep into the nitty-gritty of their spending and their categories. And basically, you divide your income into 3 buckets. The first is 50% for needs and obligations. These are things like rent, groceries, bills, prescriptions, insurance, premiums, as well as minimum debt payments. Many of these things are likely your fixed expenses that you need to live on. These may also be items that you need to survive, like prescriptions or things that will save you from a financial catastrophe, like insurance for your car, your home, as well as health insurance and life insurance. Now, this bucket also includes debt obligations, which means any minimum payments you have for loans, whether it's credit card, personal loans, car loans, will fall into this area. 50% might seem like a lot or little depending on how much you calculate. And the biggest thing that you want to adjust when it comes to your budgeting is make sure you optimize your fixed expenses as possible so that it is as low as you can get it without sacrificing your need. 50% also includes your debt obligations because if you are not paying, it will negatively impact your credit history and credit report. It might also affect things that you have. They may get repossessed, you may go foreclosure. You want to make sure you account for all of your needs and plan accordingly for those. The next bucket is 30% of your income towards wants. This is fun money that you can spend on things so that you can enjoy life. This might include Netflix. This might include that latte in the morning. It might include a new bag or that one other activity for your children. Now, these category of wants are also the first things that might get cut if in case you need to streamline your budget or if one of you gets laid off and you want to tighten the expenses. So you want to make sure that your needs or wants are as separated as possible. To be clear, wants are nice to haves. These are things that will make life enjoyable for yourself, for your kids. You work hard for your money, so it should be planned for you to be able to enjoy that income. The next bucket of the 50-30-20 is a 20% for savings, investment, and debt repayment. This is to pay future you as well as pay for past you, unfortunately. This is the money that might be going towards your retirement funds, future vacations, an emergency fund, and anything that you want to plan forward. If you've got debt, this bucket also includes funds beyond the minimum payment. Remember that the minimum payment is part of that 50%. In this bucket would be anything you want to pay to further accelerate your debt payoff. Now, the faster you pay down your debt, the more room you'll have in that 50% bucket to play with that could possibly help you with your needs. The 50-30-20 method is by no means a one-size-fits-all, but it's a good guide to have. This method still requires that you break down your expenses, figure out your needs, wants, and savings goals. One thing you might note with the 50-30-20 method is that if you are in a high cost of living, the actual percentages might change a bit, as a bigger chunk of your income will go towards maybe housing or transportation or certain things. Now, you might also be in a season in your life where you are including childcare, and that's a need. So this will push your need percentage higher. As you get older or as your family dynamics change, your percentages will change as well. But try to keep in mind that if your needs exceed above 50% for a long period of time, this will become unsustainable, and it will now be time to drastically reduce other needs or raise your income as soon as possible. You can customize the 50-30-20 budgeting method as you see fit. You might do a 40-25-35 breakdown if you want to prioritize more savings or higher debt repayment. Just assess what works for you, especially for this period in your life. Another budgeting method that is similar to this breakdown is the 80-20 method. Now, if you don't have time for complicated spreadsheets and calculations, then you will love 80-20 budgeting method. It's very simple, and it's basically using 20% of your income towards savings and retirements, and the rest, 80%, to whatever you want to spend, anything that you want, as long as it covers your needs and wants. There's no categories you have to keep track of, and no splitting hairs of any kind when it comes to expenses. So it's very straightforward. This might work for you if you want something that you can track easily, and it's also a very no-nonsense budget. Just play your income 80-20. Let me know in the comments if this is the budgeting method that you prefer. I will share mine at the end of this video. This video is part of our budgeting series. If you want more tips to help with your budget, check out this playlist right here. Next up is the zero-based budget method. Zero just means accounting for every dollar that you own and assigning it its own job. If you are the type of person who loves tracking, planning, and making sure all the pieces fit together, then this budgeting method is for you. Here's how it works. You assign every dollar you earn to a category. That means $1 for rent, utilities, food, savings, entertainment, kids' activities, everything. By the end of the month, your income minus expenses should equal to zero. It forces you to be super intentional with your money, and it can feel pretty empowering to know that you have planned accordingly. Now, if you are partnered up, the zero-based budgeting method does require that you and your partner plan together, as it ensures that every aspect of your financial life is accounted for and leaves little room for unnecessary spending. Now, the zero-based budgeting also forces you to be very on top of your monthly expenses. Of course, you can still assign $1 to a fun category. It could be $30 towards coffee dates or $5 for your kids to use at Target. You don't have to feel guilty about spending money if you are planning ahead for it. This budgeting method definitely requires more work and requires that you add a layer of diligence, as you'll need to enter your expenses often enough so you can track it. If you overspend within a certain category, you will have to readjust your budget and reallocate some of your dollars to something else so that your income minus expenses still add up to zero. Doing so keeps you spending what's available, not over. One thing I will note too is that most budgets fail because many people are not planning enough. For example, we know Christmas comes every year, so instead of being surprised, instead of going debt to make Christmas happen, spread out how much money you'll need over a few months and add that as a category in your monthly budget. You might add this category permanently, but your budgeted dollars will change each month depending on what's available. The goal is to plan ahead. Zero budgeting will include a lot more categories than your other budgeting methods. There's a lot of apps coming into the market if you want to find a budgeting app that works for you. But again, make sure you understand the method that they're using so that they are hitting your accountability needs. I will have a resource for you in the description of this video with a list of apps to help you find the one that works for you. The next budgeting method that you might want to try out is the envelope method. Okay, this is one for those who want a hands-on, tactile approach to managing money. And basically, you take physical cash and you put it into envelopes labeled with different categories. Now, the goal is to only use the cash that you've assigned to that category. This method can seem old school, but before the rise of credit cards, buy now, pay later programs, one-click buying, and so forth, this is how families survived. They only spent the income that came in. They didn't go into debt. They didn't use credit card. So this could be a method that is good for you. It's simple, but very effective. Now, if you are thinking it's so inconvenient to use cash, I have found that now a lot of businesses now offer an option to pay for cash and providing an incentive to do so. With the high rates of credit card transactions, many businesses are now offering discounts if you use cash instead. Consider that an option for you, especially for the businesses that you frequent. Check in with them to see if they would offer a cash discount if you pay cash instead of a card. With cash, you tend to spend less and stay within your budget. There's a saying out there that says, move at the speed of cash. And it basically means taking the time to spend wisely and intentionally. When you give cash, it activates the pain center in your brain, making you question if you really want to let go of that cash for that purchase. So it can lead to you doing a little bit of a slower spending. With the envelope method, you still want to be tracking what you're spending money on because it can still be easy to spend $1, $5 there and lose track of your financial goals. The envelope budgeting method is good for those who want to rely less on their credit cards, who may be trying to get out of credit card debt because you don't have that security, false security of a credit card. You're just spending on what's available. Now, I know there are apps out there too that use the envelope budgeting method, but I would go with the physical aspect of cash so you understand and change your behavior as well as your pattern of thinking when it comes to spending money. If you're going to buy something online, you have to be intentional about actually having the money to do so before you make that purchase. While I don't use this specific budgeting method, I do see its benefits, and I also carry cash with me now. And I do it for two reasons. The first is just to have it so that if a business provides a cash discount, I will pay cash instead, save the business money, save myself money. And two, when I am out with my daughter, I want her to see that I am giving something when I buy something and that I may not be getting anything back. It's just so easy for our kids to see us swipe our credit card, tap our credit card, and that's it. They don't know that a month from now, a bill is coming and that we have to pay that bill. I want her to learn the lesson that, yes, we do have to give up our money to buy something. It's also a good way for her to learn some math lesson in the process. So don't just discard the use of this method. You can use maybe a portion of this method to also help teach your kids all about money. If this video has been helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more money content. This next budgeting method are for the savers out there, and it's called the pay yourself first. Instead of spending first and saving what's left over, you flip the script. As soon as your paycheck hits, you put a chunk of your money into savings and investments right away. This means that future you is taken care of, and then you spend whatever is left over. Now, this method is great for people who have little debt or debt that is not in the high interest. This is good for people who are naturally frugal, who don't spend that much or have minimal expenses. And this is also good for people who want to force themselves to save a little bit more because it forces you to prioritize for your future goals. Pay yourself first and then enjoy guilt-free spending with whatever's left over. This is the budgeting method that I personally used when I got out of college. Mostly by default. I worked for a pharmaceutical company and they only paid us once a month. So when that paycheck hit, I put automatic deductions to retirement accounts and savings accounts. Now, this worked well for me because I had minimal expenses. I really only had to worry about myself, and I really wanted to prioritize saving for vacations, going to trips. I was in my 20s. I didn't have a house. I did not have a lot of other responsibilities. I think this method could be helpful for those that want to do that. And it was also easy because I could say no to myself. I didn't have other people that I had other expenses to account for. For the pay yourself first method, you will need to have your savings goals mapped out. This might mean planning what you want and need to save for. This might mean also looking at the maximum contribution limits as your benchmark for how much you can put away for your retirement goals. This is how you can prioritize putting more in your savings accounts and investment accounts. With this budgeting method, you do still need to do some upfront work to calculate how much your needs are so you have enough for them. You might want to also add buffer for wants, but after that, the method doesn't require as much maintenance. You don't need to create so much categories and you don't need to log a lot of things. It's easy, but yet effective. So there you have it. Those are 4 different budgeting methods to fit your needs. Whether you're a planner, a saver, or someone who just wants to keep it simple, there is a budget method that will work for you. Try them out first. See what makes you excited to fill it out. See what kind of makes you not excited about it. So find one that works for you. Now, for me, the pay yourself first method worked when it was just me in my 20s, but now with a partner and a child, the zero-based budget is how we manage our money in our household. With a kid in place, with housing, maintenance cost, a lot of things add up. So the zero-based budgeting provides us more planning and discussion opportunities to make sure that we are planning for our money properly. It is a team effort to budget, so make sure your spouse is involved in the process. Let me know in the comments which one you're going to try, and if you're already using one, how is that working for you? What advice would you give to someone who is budgeting for the first time? As you figure out the budgeting method that works for you, it's also important that you do an annual budget. This is you putting your expenses for the year in a spreadsheet because it provides better planning. If you want some help with an annual budget, check out this video. And this video will also give you more budgeting tips so your budget is as streamlined and optimized as you can get it, and you are handling your money as well as you could. Thanks for joining me today at Sisters for Financial Independence. I will see you in the next video. Bye.